I took the job because it sounded easy. Overnight attendant at the university library. 8 hours of quiet. A desk to myself. $500 a week. The flyer was taped crooked to the bulletin board outside the cafeteria. Nobody else even noticed it. Nobody except me. When I showed up, the head librarian was waiting by the front desk. Her badge just said staff. Her cardigan smelled faintly of dust and mothballs. She didn't smile when she slid the clipboard toward me. "Most people don't last," she said. "Too quiet." The paperwork was simple. Name, student ID, emergency contact. The only thing unusual was the waiver. You may be subject to brief auditory disturbances. All activity in the lower stacks is monitored and archived. I asked what that meant. She didn't answer. "Phone's off," she said instead. "Signal doesn't reach downstairs anyway." She led me down a flight of narrow stairs. The hum of fluorescent lights grew louder the deeper we went, until I could feel it in my teeth. The basement reading room was bigger than I expected. 4 long tables, rows of books towering into shadow, a single camera in the corner, its red light steady, and taped to the wall by the elevator, a sheet of yellow paper, the corners curled. I glanced at it, but the librarian caught my wrist before I could step closer. "Later," she said, "just remember, never wander, never talk to anyone who doesn't check in." The door shut behind her. The lock clicked, and I was alone with the stacks. I waited until her footsteps faded. Then I went to the yellow paper by the elevator. It wasn't printed. It was photocopied so many times the letters had gone soft at the edges. Pen marks bled over the copy. Someone had corrected it by hand. At the top, in block capitals, basement reading room, after hours policies, and underneath, the rules. 1. Do not use the elevator after 12 a.m. If the doors open by themselves, do not approach. The stairs are sufficient. 2. If you hear your name anywhere in the stacks, ignore it. It will try again. It may sound familiar. 3. Do not acknowledge readers in unlit corners. If you can't see the page, they aren't reading. 4. All patrons must check in at the desk. If someone asks for help without a checkout slip, call upstairs. Do not engage. 5. Reshelve only from the cart. If a book isn't on the cart but insists it belongs, it does not. 6. When a page turns by itself, keep your eyes on the table. Do not look up. 7. Never request or handle book number 0. If the catalog displays it, the entry is an error. Do not correct it. At the bottom, a new line scrawled in fresher ink. 8. If the camera light goes out, face the wall and count to 50. Someone had underlined "face the wall" twice. I stood there with my finger on the paper, feeling the elevator breathing beside me, warm air through a seam, the low electric thrum of a motor at rest. The call button was dark. The 12 on the panel blinked once, then held. Behind me, the reading room waited. 4 long tables, 2 carts, a single chair pulled slightly out like a place had been saved. The camera's red dot in the corner burned a steady pulse. I copied the rules into the spiral notebook at my desk. The pages felt thinner than they looked, like they'd already been erased a few times. When I finished writing Never Handle Book 0, the pencil left a faint extra mark I hadn't made, an oval, like the page wanted to add a number that wasn't there. I pressed my palm over it until the ghost of it vanished. A page turned somewhere in the stacks. Slow, heavy. "Inventory?" I called, trying to sound like staff. My voice came back softer, as if the room were learning it. No answer, just the hum of the lights and the elevator's patient throb. I stacked the cart with returns and wheeled it past the first aisle. Halfway down, an open book lay on the floor, face down like a body. Its spine was unbroken. No stamp, no slip, no checkout. Rule 4 pressed against my teeth. "Desk first," I told it. Like that meant anything. The camera's red dot flickered. Once, twice, then held steady again. I went back to the table and set the notebook on top of the rule sheet, as if one could weigh the other down. Another page turned. Closer now. The clock on my phone read 11:58 before the signal died and took the numbers with it. I didn't look up. Not yet. The notebook lay open in front of me, but I hadn't written anything new. The last line on the page was still there in my own handwriting. "Never handle book number 0. I traced it with my finger. The pencil marks felt raised, like scars. That was when I heard it. My name, soft. From between the stacks. I froze. The rule sheet whispered in my head, "If you hear your name anywhere in the stacks, ignore it." I tried. I really did. But the sound came again. Closer, a little sharper this time. It wasn't a stranger's voice. It was my mother's. I spun in my chair before I could stop myself. The rows of books stood still, shadows between them stretching longer than they should. A chair scraped in the far corner. Just a slow drag against tile, like someone sitting down. The breath caught in my throat. The light above me flickered, buzzing like a swarm in glass. I gripped the edge of the desk until my fingers went white. "Inventory check," I said, trying to steady my voice. The silence that answered sounded patient. Then, another whisper. Not my name this time, not even words. Just breath, dragging in the shape of language. The chair in the corner creaked again. Someone was there, sitting. I could see the back of a book just over the table edge. The cover was too dark to read, but the pages were turning themselves. Rule 6. When a page turns by itself, keep your eyes on the table. Do not look up. I pressed my face into my notebook, counted breaths. 1, 2, 3. The page flipping slowed, then stopped. A soft thump as the book closed. When I dared to raise my head, the corner was empty, but the chair stayed pulled out, angled toward me. The notebook in front of me had a new line written in it, not in my hand. You looked. I shut the notebook, hard, but the words still pressed through the cover, like they were carved into the paper. The chair in the corner hadn't moved back under the table. It just waited, angled at me like someone invisible was still seated. I tried to breathe quiet, tried not to hear the hum of the elevator behind me tried not to hear the faint shuffle of paper deeper in the stacks. Rule 3 clawed at my thoughts. Do not acknowledge readers in unlit corners. If you can't see the page, they aren't reading. I didn't want to test it, but the stacks didn't care what I wanted. At the end of the far aisle, the fluorescent tubes flickered out one by one until the shadows pooled thick at the edges of the room. Something sat inside them. A figure hunched at a desk I hadn't noticed before, arms resting on an open book. No breath, no turn of the page. Another figure in the next corner, bent low over a volume. Another after that. 4, 5. Too many, each one blurred by the dark. No faces, no motion, just the outline of readers in places that shouldn't exist. My skin prickled. I told myself, don't acknowledge them, don't. Then one of them twitched, just a tilt of the head, toward me. The book on my desk snapped open on its own. The pages fluttered so violently the sound filled the whole room. Every figure in the corners turned at once. I couldn't see their eyes, couldn't see anything, but I felt their attention, heavy, crushing. The pages stilled. On the line I'd written before, where it had added, "You looked, there was more. Now you read." The corners went blacker, and from all of them at once came the sound of pages turning, slow and wet, like something inside the books wasn't paper anymore. I clenched my eyes shut, whispering Rule 3 over and over in my head. When I opened them, the corners were empty, but the chair by my desk had moved closer, and the notebook lay open again, its pencil rolling gently, as if a hand had just set it down. I tried not to touch the notebook again, but it didn't matter. Every time I looked away, the pencil would be in a new place. Every time I glanced back, the pages sat a little more open. I pushed it aside and wheeled the return cart toward the catalog shelves, needing something, anything that felt like work. The air between the stacks was colder now, humming with the lights, a pressure behind my ears like the whole room was waiting for me to speak. I scanned the spines, one after another. Numbers, letters, call slips tucked neat inside the covers. Then I saw it. A gap. Just a hand's width of empty space, like a book had been torn out. The label above the slot read, Number 0. My chest tightened. Rule 7 whispered back, never request or handle book number 0. If the catalog displays it, the entry is an error. Do not correct it. The space in the shelf seemed deeper than it should have been. Shadows swimming like water inside. I backed away, wheeled the cart faster, tried to remind myself I hadn't seen anything. Back at the desk, the computer monitor glowed faintly, even though I hadn't touched it. The catalog page was open. Search bar empty. Results. Book number 0. Checked out. My breath stuttered. I leaned closer. Next to the title, under patron ID, was my name. I slammed the monitor off. The fan inside wheezed down to silence. The notebook was waiting on the desk. Open. A new line written at the bottom of the page. In my own handwriting, but sharper. More certain. Return it. I kept my eyes on the desk, on the notebook, on the cart. Anywhere but the shelves where the gap still waited like a mouth. The elevator behind me gave a low hum, then a chime. I froze. Rule 1. Do not use the elevator after 12 a.m. If the doors open by themselves, do not approach. The stairs are sufficient. The digital clock on the wall read 12:01. The air shifted. A draft pushed against my neck, like the whole room had leaned toward the sound. The elevator dinged again, louder. The doors groaned open. I told myself not to look, but the reflection in the monitor glass showed it anyway. Doors yawning wide, spilling light onto the tile. Not fluorescent, not warm. Something colder, whiter. I turned. The elevator car was empty, but beyond it wasn't the lobby. It was more stacks. Endless aisles, stretching too far for the walls to contain. Each shelf taller than the last, climbing into dark rafters. Pages rustled somewhere deep inside, a tide pulling me forward. The notebook on my desk flipped open by itself. The pencil scratched across the page. Come down. I stumbled backward, hand gripping the desk until my wrist ached. The elevator's light pulsed brighter. In the glow, a figure moved between the shelves inside. Not walking, sliding, spine bent, hands trailing the books as it passed. The intercom crackled overhead. I didn't even know there was one in the basement. The voice was thin, distorted. We saved your seat. The camera's red light in the corner blinked out. For the first time, the room wasn't being watched. I faced the wall and started counting. 1, 2, 3. But even with my eyes shut, I could feel it. The elevator doors hadn't closed. They were waiting. I pressed my forehead to the wall and counted, whispering numbers through clenched teeth. 46, 47, 48. When I turned back, the elevator doors were closed again. The light above them was dead. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, like the books themselves were leaning in. The notebook on the desk was open, pages spread wide. The pencil was moving, not rolling, not shifting, writing. My stomach dropped. I crept closer. The words on the page were mine, my handwriting, my strokes, but sharper, more deliberate than I'd ever been. It described what I had just done, word for word, facing the wall, counting, turning back, and then the line I hadn't reached yet. He walks to the desk. He reads these words. I froze, breath shallow. The pencil didn't stop. He looks up. I slammed the notebook shut, heart thundering, refusing to move. But the sound of a page turning filled the room anyway. Slow, heavy. I forced my eyes back down, opened the notebook again with trembling hands. The next line was waiting. He opens the notebook again. I snapped it shut a second time. My pulse screamed in my ears. Another page turned in the stacks. Closer now. The notebook quivered under my palm like something alive. The pencil dragged itself free, graphite tip leaving a jagged scar as it scrawled one final line across the closed cover. Last chapter. The camera's red light blinked once, twice, then went out again, and for the first time, I realized the reading room wasn't recording me anymore. It was writing me. The notebook slid open on its own. Pages fluttered like wings, stopping halfway through. The pencil scratched without a hand to guide it, scrawling in frantic strokes. When the last page turns, so do you. The words bled through the paper. Every light above me died at once. The stacks groaned, wood and steel bending like something too heavy was climbing them. In the corners, the readers stood, not sitting anymore, not waiting. They filled the shadows like statues come unstuck, heads bowed over books that snapped shut in unison. The sound echoed, sharp, final. I stumbled backward, but the notebook slid across the table to follow me, its open page glowing faint in the dark. My own handwriting appeared line by line. He runs for the elevator. The ding came before I moved. Doors opening on their own. White light spilling across the floor. I shook my head, tried to resist, but my legs weren't listening. My body followed the words. He steps inside. Cold air swallowed me. The elevator smelled of mildew and paper rot. The door sealed shut. The panel glowed with a single button, 0. It pressed itself. The car jolted downward, shuddering as though the shaft was miles deep. Pages flapped in the walls around me, thousands of them tearing loose, circling like birds. The notebook was still in my hands. I hadn't picked it up, but I was holding it anyway. The final page turned slowly, painfully, as if savoring the weight of it. One last line waited. You're next. The pencil pressed the period. The notebook slammed shut. The elevator stopped. The doors opened onto silence. Rows upon rows of shelves stretching into the dark. Every seat was filled now. Every reader looked up at once, and I understood. The library didn't archive books. It archived us.